This week, we're celebrating a bunch of wins from around the industry. This is the Good Game, Bad Game podcast.
This is a song I wrote about the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. Good Game, Bad Game podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, and with me is a man who similarly once was handcuffed by the internet police just so he too could be seen as a martyr over his beliefs regarding Google Stadia. It's my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
In the internet jail.
Yeah. Stop the count.
Are you going to explain this one to me?
Do you actually need me to?
I mean, is this a specific... Oh. I don't know, dude. It's been a long day. Is this based on the story that I told you earlier? Or the current event?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he wants to be seen as a martyr, so he's gonna get he's gonna get handcuffed, even though he doesn't need to be.
True. Do you know what's funny? I too was also deep faked being handcuffed, so people actually believed me that I was going to be handcuffed.
So it was all a ruse all along.
Yeah, sure was.
Incredible. Who would have thought? In the year of our Lord 2023, AI has gone too far.
It hasn't gone far enough.
Well, I'm excited to hear about your week in games. Tell me about it.
Oof. My week in games. Well, I played Madden.
All right. All right.
Played Madden. And a significant amount of Mario Kart at the start of the week.
Nice.
Yeah, that's been our... I should say end of last week. I guess it wasn't really. Yeah. Since we got Mario Kart on the Switch, Justine's been enjoying it. So we did that. I thought maybe we played something else, but can't remember. I downloaded Mario Kart Tour on my phone.
Okay.
And Justine and I were out for dinner Friday night. And one thing led to another, and she was on my phone playing Mario Kart. And she's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And she's asking me what to do. And I said, Justine, I've never played this game. And she still somehow found a way to come in first. And she gets like laser focused. She doesn't know what place she's in until it's like she's past the finish line. She doesn't know what lap it is. She doesn't know what place she's in.
That's so
She gets
funny.
so laser focused. So once the game stops letting her control the little pixels on the screen, that's when she kind of comes to terms with whatever has happened in her life.
She blacks out, and then like she's like a silent assassin. Just goes in, wipes out an entire room, but then as soon as she leaves the room, she's like, "What the fuck just happened in there?"
Yeah, that's exactly it. And whenever we're racing and she beats me and she doesn't realize it, she's just like, there's a moment of pause, and she looks at me and then punches me for some reason. I don't know why that's her reaction, and says, I beat you. And I said, yes. And I said, need I remind you, I was in the top 10 of players worldwide for Mario Kart DS. So you want to step onto the real battleground? Grab a couple DSs.
That's funny. I wouldn't know what that's like. I've never allowed Shelby to beat me at anything.
Allowed.
Yeah.
She won fair and square.
No. I mean, I simply won't allow it to happen. Is I guess what I'm saying. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's impossible. Yeah. Sorry. I guess allowed's not the right word, but like.
I hear you.
I don't know how else to phrase that, but
and she still plays games with you?
Oh, she doesn't have a choice.
Does she know that?
That's not even true, because we literally talked about it last week. She beat both of us at Mario Party.
That's true. But on whatever the extra stars were, which is
how you play Mario Party. Yeah, we all
Call
agree.
call me old fashioned. You want to play Mario Party 4, my dude?
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
I
we
was
can.
top 10 in my house at Mario Party 4.
Yeah, but I mean, aren't there bonus stars in that as well?
I didn't think so.
I'm pretty sure there are bonus stars.
I don't know.
oh,
I
I,
think there's not.
I don't know. Maybe not, but um,
I'm gonna ask AI.
it's the only way to play. Call you old fashioned. All right, boomer.
Well, hold on. I didn't say call me a boomer. Gen
Sorry.
Xer, maybe.
Sorry. A line was crossed, and I apologize.
Yeah, you should.
Okay, so some Mario Kart and some Madden. That's a pretty
Madden,
low
yeah.
key, pretty chill. I like that. That's sometimes you just need a week like that.
That's what I'm saying.
Sometimes you and I need most of our weeks to just be like that, since that's typically how our weeks end up netting out.
So okay, here's the deal.
Played a sports game and played a casual game.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not giving up on Forza. I just want to make that clear. Just
But
then
even
we're at.
that is still like a casual. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's always our weeks. Is like we just kind of we play very chill, laid back games.
I just want to apologize to all of the story writers at Turn 10 Studios. I think it's an insult to call it a casual.
You know what? Fair. I've never played Forza. I'm just
Yeah, you haven't been there.
I'm projecting.
Yes, you know how you didn't want me to cancel you before we started recording. You
Yeah.
crossed the line.
I know.
Um, so here's the deal. I'm finishing my master's, as you know,
Hmm.
and I'm writing my master's thesis in gamification. So that's got to count for something, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's gaming
I'm writing
adjacent.
a I'm writing a paper about how people wouldn't hate their jobs if we put achievements into information systems.
Oh, 100%.
And that might be a very biased topic. Because I know I would like my life a lot more if I got a little achievement for entering 100 pieces of some bullshit data.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. So,
I would, yeah. Are you kidding me? I would be putting in extra hours to get the lifetime achievement of like 1 billion hours worked.
yeah.
I'd be like, yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'm sorry, Shelby, I gotta
And,
work.
and that's all you get. There's no monetary payment. You don't need it.
Oh, of course.
You just need the the introspection of I got this achievement.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh, if Sony tried to roll out some sort of rewards program that every trophy I got was some cents on the dollar, oh no.
No way it would work. Wouldn't work.
Yeah, no, and I don't want it because that's not why I do it. I don't do it for the money. The life experience that I get playing these games is enough. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. You can go to another game console in 10 years and say, I did that.
Exactly. There are times where, totally unrelated now, but because we've now just mixed work with gaming, there are
Mhm.
times where I think my gaming resume is 100,000%, which is impossible, better than my actual career resume.
Okay, so let's break that down.
Okay.
Why?
Because I just feel
Or
like
how?
I feel like I just
Say how.
haven't done shit that I'm proud of when it comes to work.
I see.
But
It's-
when it comes to gaming, it's a lengthy list. I don't think I could get it all onto one piece of paper.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably normal, right? For people who play video games. I mean, I could say that. I mean, getting the platinum trophy in Assassin's Creed 2 just supersedes anything I've ever done with my life in terms of like work.
Yeah. Uh that also has me thinking. I've been thinking a lot about like like old PS3 games mainly that will have platinums. And I'm curious, is that a game that did it have any online trophies?
No.
Okay, I wouldn't think so.
No, the worst thing about that game was finding all of the feathers. There's like 100 feathers you need to find,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like no in-game map. You literally just have to like comb the entire thing.
God.
Like don't get me wrong, when I got to like doing that achievement, because I think that was the last achievement I needed to do, I
Right.
did look up a guide, but that still doesn't help you. It's like, here's where it is, and it's just this little section of I don't know what era you'd call it, but Italy in that era, and it all looks the fucking same. She's like, I think I know where this is.
Yeah. I've just been like uh I've been like buying a lot of like old games and uh thinking about all the potential like trophies I can go after with games that have been out for like super long, but a lot of that's reliant on there not being online trophies, which is those should just be illegal. But
I agree. Yeah, there was a good amount of those. I was trying to get the Splinter Cell Blacklist platinum, and need to do quite a bit of online work for that.
mm, are servers still up for that?
I when did I buy you that copy of that game?
It's been like 2 years ago. I'm just curious, like, are we gonna be able to do that wirelessly, or are we gonna have to do like LAN?
I know you can do it LAN.
Yeah, because like that should never technically be shut down, right?
I guess not. Yeah.
Right? Like that's just working off of your own network.
Right.
We'll have to do that. That'll have to be the next.
I haven't seen anything that Blacklist servers have been shut down. I think every other Splinter Cell game from that, I should say the other Splinter Cell game from that era.
Yeah.
That's not true.
R.I.P.
I guess there's two. So I think Double Agent was technically at the beginning of that generation, but anyway. Yeah, there was a lot of that. I mean, so for the PS4 and the PS5 era, you have been a lot more involved in trophy hunting than I have been. I kind of fell off that wagon.
Hmm.
Have you noticed that it is more like in-game achievements rather than online?
No, they still fucking suck with it. Though every game has like 2 or 3 trophies. It feels like not every game. That's a terrible generalization, but so many unnecessarily have it. And I'm trying to think of like a good example. Like I get it, like with like these sports games. I think it's dumb. I think it's annoying, but I get it because there's like an actual mode that they're all like tied to. But like NCAA 2012 or whatever, the one that I platinumed,
Mm,
like
allegedly.
that one had, and just thank God I at the time was getting so close to the platinum that I like just did the online things so that way 10 years later I still had the ability to go and earn the platinum. Um but like it was like upload a roster or upload a screenshot and like another player's screenshot or
Mm,
something along those lines, right? And it's just like why? Why do you need
right.
that?
That's how mm, I want to say it was Skate 3 or something like that. I can't remember if it was Skate 3 or the original Skate, but I'm really close to the platinum in one of those two games, and it's the same shit. It's like create a map and upload it and like get 10 downloads. It's like no one's ever going to do that.
Right.
Like unless they're like making something really, really, really creative.
Yep.
I think
I,
I tried. So I think I was smart, and this will get me sued, I'm sure. So I think it was Skate 3 because Skate 3 had DLC, like a significant amount of DLC.
uh-huh.
So I was basically just like looking it up online and making a poor man's version and creator maps and just putting it up.
That's smart.
And I think I maybe got like 2 downloads.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Uh yeah, I think if you're a game developer and you're listening to this, can you just like start a trend where when you sunset a game's servers that something in the code in that final update you push out trips that when the next time somebody logs in, like whatever the check is to like award somebody the trophy for completing something that's tied to the servers, it trips and it like automatically awards it. Cuz like there's nothing more devastating than realizing that you can't do something because and it's now why if I play a game and I always check trophies and you better believe that if it has something tied to online, I'm doing that shit right away because I don't know if some games barely last a year. I mean, we just saw like a couple of these like Rumbleverse and like these other games like they just stop right after a year. And so you just never know how long like servers are going to be up for a game.
Right.
So I never want to get caught with my pants down, you know what I'm saying?
I think you and I discussed it a couple of times. Um, like you can have online trophies, but don't let that count towards like 100% completion.
Yeah, that's the other thing, right? Like just like DLCs get their own trophy lists. Just have online trophies have their own trophy list. Don't impact my ability to 100% the base game, to platinum the base game.
Right.
Make it a separate list. But no, we hate you.
I guess maybe they're just trying to prompt like return because like they have to have achievements, for their own game too. So maybe they're just trying to prompt online engagement so people spend more money,
Maybe.
or at least make it worth building multi-million-dollar servers.
Yeah, I mean, I get like wanting to force people into like various game modes and stuff. Like I understand that, but again, as a trophy collector, I hate it.
Right.
um Speaking of trophies, I was playing some City Skylines, right? Because there's the new it got updated for PS5 and I am down to just needing to get that final trophy
Oh,
of the 1001 nights or whatever
uh,
where I basically need to like leave effectively leave my PlayStation on um overnight for like a couple of hours each night to let the timer run. So that's fun. I'm trying to think what else.
can you do an analysis of your energy bill during those periods and see how much that achievement's going to cost you?
I wonder if there's just like a rough estimate of like how much a PlayStation costs to run.
I mean, probably, yeah.
And so I can just multiply that by however many hours I'm going to run it and see how many days it takes. I could do that. I could do that.
Just curious.
Um I have a really scary story to tell you in a sec, but some other games that I've been playing. I started Cult of the Lamb, and similarly to when I started Hades, I absolutely love this game. It is amazing. Um, it's my fave. uh, it's it's so good. Much more similar to Binding in my opinion. Um, but there's also like management to it with like resource management and like how you like operate your cult. It's awesome. So loving that. Uh and trying to think. I think the only other thing is I found out a couple of things. So Marvel's Avengers is on the PlayStation Plus catalog for extra,
Not for long.
and it's leaving, I think March 31st, and then the game servers as well are being sunset in September, which I had heard about, and I kind of foolishly, I guess, assumed that like the game wouldn't leave the catalog. I kind of just thought it would be there, and so I had every intention of playing it before the server shut down. But then I found out that it's going to be leaving March 31st, so I started playing it, and I know the game got a lot of flack at early on, and admittedly, I didn't play it early on, so I can't speak to that. But the game I'm playing now is fine. Like I actually quite enjoy it. I'm a bit of a Marvel head, so like I'm basically just getting like a fun, unique Marvel story. Like one that I don't personally know, and it's with recognizable characters and stuff like that, and I'm actually really enjoying it. I want to say I'm like fairly close to being done with like the base story of the game, so I don't know if that was one of the complaints because like it didn't take me long whatsoever. But there's like 3 additional chapters. I'm like putting air quotes around that. I don't know how else to call it. That are like extensions of the story, I guess. And then there's like after you do all that, or you have access to it right away, which is basically just like I think just like running around and doing like kind of like uh free missions and stuff like that where you just like go in, do the thing. So very grindy at that point. Um Level up, all that stuff, but you have like your whole like roster of superheroes. But yeah, like all in all, I don't really like I don't really have any issues with it or any gripes. I've actually quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm as you're talking here, I'm trying to see if it's on Game Pass because I think Justine was going through the Game Pass games just to see what was on there because she's trying to find more Xbox games to play,
Mhm.
which hasn't gone well because she's back into Arceus, which I thought she had like done everything there, but apparently not. But she's back to enjoying that again. Um, she found that and she's like, "Oh, you should play that." 'Cause I think I told her that the um, servers were shutting down,
Mhm.
and I thought it was leaving Game Pass too, but it's still here and it's not on the leaving soon. Um, though the game Cluster Truck is, which is I know, like the day after you left, they put it up that it was leaving, and just
Monsters.
because that was a game that I wanted to like take my time with. So we'll probably end up buying it. I think we enjoy it enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm basically at a point now where like I started playing it and I'm like, well shit, like part of me is like willing to play the waiting game because I think they'll like I wonder if it'll be offered for free at some point um to like allow people like a final chance to like play it before the servers and everything. I don't know. So I'm going to have to like make the decision on whether or not I full out purchase it. And so I'll probably wait though until like August if I don't get through everything I want to get through by March 31st, which I most likely won't.
I wonder if they'll just keep it on Game Pass. You know, because I think you'll probably get a lot more people playing it knowing that the because I imagine this game won't work when servers are shut down.
Right. I don't think so. That's kind of my understanding. So, which is shit because you can
Yeah,
just play the entire game solo.
yeah. Well, hopefully you can get it through in time. Knowing you, you'll probably have it done by next week.
The only problem with that
Before
is
MLB comes out.
say that what?
Beat it before MLB comes out.
Well, that's the only problem. MLB does come out at on midnight Friday, 12
Oh,
a.m.
this.
12 a.m. this Friday.
Oh yeah, look at that. MLB The Show coming to Game Pass 320. Oh, 328. So I guess you get it early. Did
uh,
you? Does it actually come out 328? And you usually get it early because you pay for the.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, call me out, why don't you?
I'm sure it's been a talking point on this show before.
It has. All right, go pee, you fuck. Of course, moments like that where I wish we had sponsors.
Yeah, for
Um,
real. One
so
day.
yeah, one day. The scary story that I wanted to tell you. So probably a good thing you emptied your bladder so you don't piss yourself when you hear this.
Well, I still might, so don't count it out.
um, I randomly my PlayStation turned off. Um, and I was like, oh, that's good. And I like couldn't get it to turn back on with my like controller. I don't know if you remember. This would happen with like the PS4 from time to time. I don't know if it happens with Xbox ever, but like it like would randomly just like turn off or like typically a power outage is what like causes it, I would say, where like suddenly you like can't get it to turn back on. You have to do like a manual boot up and everything. And so did a manual boot up. I did feel like it felt warmer than usual, but I also don't typically touch my PS5 after it's been running for like I don't even know how long it was on at that point. Safe to assume 10 hours or something stupid probably. Um and so I turn it on manually and a little like pop-up comes up. It like does its like whole rebuild thing and like all that. And that pops up and says the M.2 SSD cannot be rebuilt.
Uh-oh.
You have to reformat it and it will delete everything on it.
Stinky.
And when I tell you that my heart sank so far when I saw that, I was like, you're fucking kidding me. And so I'm like looking up all these things, like, is there a possible fix? There isn't. I was like, well, fuck it. Like, thankfully, all I only keep PS4 games on there and PS5 games that I'm not like actively playing. Um, and so I was just like, whatever, I'm just gonna have to re-download some stuff, but it's not that big of a deal. And then I started running through my head, like as it's happening, that I'm like, well, shit, like my Horizon stuff that I've been like for my playthrough of that, like that's on the PS4 version of it, and so like that shit's gone, and I'm like thinking about all these things, and it reboots, and I'm just so sad. And I like go to the storage, save data. Save data is always kept on the console storage. Save data, regardless of if the game was on the M.2 SSD or not. Uh, the game can be over there, but it still saves your game data to the console. And holy shit, thank God. The only inconvenience this causes is I need to re-download games, which isn't great, but
It's just so strange that that would happen.
yeah, and I don't really know. Like, I really truly can't point to anything that would have caused it to happen. I mean, from what I could find on the internet, pretty like it was pretty scarce in terms of like people who were saying that they had the issue. But there were just a couple of people who were like, "Yeah, I manually had to reboot my PS5, got this error code, and like, or got this error message that said it couldn't rebuild or whatever the M.2, and so I had to format it again. And um yeah, I don't know. So hopefully it doesn't continue to happen. I think there was only like one person who said that it was just like happening over and over and over again, and that sucks. Because then it's just basically worthless.
Yeah, that's rough. And a lot of people want to talk shit about Xbox always using proprietary storage,
Yeah.
but I don't think I've ever had issues with any of the Xbox consoles I've had in terms of storage. Every
Yeah.
PlayStation console I've had, something has happened.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Um yeah,
But at least they were still a save data.
yeah, right? Like that's like a lifesaver. Because again, that like I said, the only thing that it really causes in terms of like issue is like all the games that I had sitting on there, I need to re-download. And if anything, there's like a lot of shit on there that like I wasn't touching, so it probably didn't matter. So that was very scary though. That was I almost had a heart attack.
Oh, I'm sure.
Uh, yeah.
Does PS5 do like automatic cloud backups for save data?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean
they
you got
do,
that too.
but sometimes their cloud saves are fucky, and like it'll
Mm,
randomly be like, oh, we couldn't sync it, and like
drop off.
if you don't catch that, it like never like does it again. So, but yeah, that was the SSD was not cheap, so like
Right.
even though like it happening isn't the biggest deal in the world, if it were to continue happening and like just ends up basically being a brick and like no point to it, um, that would make me both sad and angry. So fingers
Yeah, I
crossed.
mean, at least solid states are better than regular hard drives in terms of, you know, being written and rewritten, but
Hmm.
still don't like it.
Right.
So at least it's not a hard drive.
Yeah. But I just wanted to tell you about that because I knew you would
Sounds.
simultaneously love to hear it, but also absolutely hate to hear it.
Oh yeah, it's one of those stories that's so interesting, but also I feel like I'm gonna vomit.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about some of the fun stuff, the happy stuff that's been happening in the industry. And I'm actually going to, as I say that, I'm going to start with some sad news, but that has a happy spin to it. This past week, Lance Reddick passed away. He was a big actor and voice actor. So from a voice acting standpoint, he was in Destiny and Horizon, and I know he was in some other stuff. Those were, I think, like the two big ones that he's been in recently. And then he's got all kinds of acting credits to his name. So the reason I bring this up, because like I said, um, very sad, sudden news. But Destiny 2 players started gathering in the tower to pay their respects to his character, who I think like is just in the tower, right? And, like you can go up to him, Commander Zavala, and so many people were like posting screenshots and videos of players surrounding his like in-game character, like paying respects and everything like that. Super like wholesome and just like one of those moments where you like take a step back and you realize, wow, there's actually, it's so easy to get caught up in the negativity of the gaming community, but like there's just a ton of good there as well. And again, take something like so sad and actually like make something so wholesome and happy out of it. And so I wanted to tip my cap to the the gamers out there and shine a light on that pretty cool story.
Take a lap.
Take a lap. Um
Yeah, it's cool. I did not see that happen, but I'm glad people can pull together for that and then, walk away and start blasting each other
yeah. Yeah.
in a good way. In a good way.
Yeah. Go do a raid and stuff like that, but
Right.
in his honor. Um Something that's just absolutely mind-boggling. Elden Ring uh it was announced that over 9 billion deaths have happened in the game since release.
This is comical.
Um, uh, so, like substat of that is enemies and NPCs are the leading cause, as you would imagine, at 69%. And I'm sure the remaining 31% is like probably the PvP aspect where you can like invade people's like worlds and stuff like that. But I like to think that the 31% is actually just like people falling off cliffs.
Right.
um, but yeah, like it was like revealed that Melania, who was it Melania was the one that like let me solo her, or was that Margit?
I think it was Millennia.
Okay, so if it was
You might
Millennia,
be asking the wrong person, but that's the name that I remember. I don't even remember the other one.
okay, all right. Well, apparently 329 million players have attempted to fight her 329 million times. So it doesn't necessarily say how many died there, but like that's insane. Like that's insane that Let Me Solo Her probably only accounts for, I don't know, 300 of those 329 million. Um, Elden Ring just continues to like have such cool not updates to the game, but like news updates about the game. Like there was the whole thing where they sent Let Me Solo Her, they sent that person like basically an Elden Ring care package with like, I think if I remember correctly, they had like a legit sword in there or some shit. Um like I don't know. They've just done such a good job of like doing stuff very like awesome community facing, and then the game itself also just like stands on its own as a complete masterpiece in the gaming space. I didn't know if you had anything, anything to add to
Yeah, hold
that.
on. Let's let leading authority in Elden Ring add to it. I mean, it's definitely like another feather in the cap of that game.
Right.
It's another reason why I'm pissed at myself for not being interested in it. I mean, this thing is going to be in, the Hall of Fame if it's not already,
Right.
as one of the greatest games ever. So it's cool. It's cool they're keeping track of the statistics and I suppose the importance of games being internet connected. Because if you don't have that, how do you keep track of its significance?
I guess that's true. Okay, last little quick hit before we jump into our two headlines that we actually want to dive deeper into. Kind of surprising, out of nowhere news, but Counter Strike 2 was revealed and a release window for, I think, this summer was confirmed. Um, yeah, summer 2023. Uh, this is like, is this like the first game that Valve has put out since, I guess technically they had Half-Life Alyx, right? But like
Right.
other than that, like this is just going to start all the rumors that we're about to get Half-Life 3 and we're going to get Portal 3 and Team Fortress 3. We're going to get all the threes.
But
Uh
this is a two.
but this is a 2. So maybe
That's
not
a
until
third.
maybe not until they're ready for Counter-Strike 3. Um
I mean, there've been a number of Counter Strike games, right? Like, there's been regular Counter Strike, Counter Strike Go, which I think is an entirely different game, and now Counter Strike 2. Is that how this works?
yeah, well, uh I guess Counter-Strike 2 is an upgrade to CS:GO. I don't really know how that works.
Is it CS:GO or regular Counter Strike?
This article claims it will be a free upgrade to CS:GO
That would make sense. I mean, the regular Counter Strike. Oh, there it is. Okay,
because
I thought I
CS:GO
read
still
it.
has like a competitive scene and like is still
Oh my
super
god.
active, right? Like it's because
Yeah.
it's the most up to date Counter Strike. So
Right.
um, yeah, so it's basically just a massive upgrade, really. Like it's an upgrade that is a full fledged game, which is nuts. Like I can't think of another instance where like something like this has happened.
Yeah. I Not as a free upgrade to an existing game. So I guess that's my. I guess it's going to be an entirely new game package, but access through CS:GO.
Yeah, this is actually nuts because everything
Because
like it's saying everything like carries over. This is wild. We should have. I feel like this is something that uh Austin, who we did a journey into games with, um this is something that I feel like he would be able to explain to us like we're five. So maybe once this actually like releases, and I'm assuming he's going to play this, maybe we can have him on to like share his thoughts.
Yeah, be interesting to hear. I mean, he's probably the only Counter Strike player I know. One of my roommates in college was really into it. I don't know if he still is.
And you also don't know him anymore, so.
True.
um, no, but this is another like. First off, the more I like am realizing about it, the cooler this seems. But also, I love. I feel like we're getting some more of these like boom, all of a sudden, like, it's coming soon, and like the release window probably actually means something. And I'm a big fan of these, like, nothing about it, then you're told about it, and it's going to be in your hands within like 3 months. Um,
I hope
Big fan.
I hope this is the format now. Like,
Right.
we've talked an exhausting amount of times about like games giving release windows. And it's just like so satisfying when they're like, "Hey, look at this game. This game is amazing. Give it a lick. It's coming out tomorrow." It's so much more satisfying.
No, 100%, 100%. And yeah, that's a thing that we've beaten into the ground. The whole release date debacle, but yeah, uh, big fan of this way of thinking and doing. So, all right. Anything else on Counter Strike 2?
No, maybe I'll play it.
Maybe you'll
And
play it.
I'll play one game with PC gamers and just have my self esteem entirely blown out, and I'll never play it again.
There you go. That seems like a good game plan. All right, let's get into our actual headlines, I guess. Starting with, I saw this about an hour before we started recording. This is from uh, an IGN article that is about an interview with Eurogamer. So, uh, I love how media works. But Redfall developer is working on reversing always online requirement. And like the subheading of this says, Arcane Austin also confirms there will be no in-game store or microtransactions. That was something that they had said previously, but I guess there is a need to just continue to double down on that because I think anytime you have a game that has any sort of online component, people are just going to be skeptical and naturally believe that you're going to try and add some sort of gotcha uh, aspect or loot boxes or whatever. And so they're not going to be able to escape this. They're going to have to keep saying that it's not going to be there until the game comes out and proves that it's not actually there. But yeah, I'm curious. What are your thoughts? This is something like this has been coming up a lot recently. This need for games to be online, whether or not you're playing multiplayer. And again, yeah, it's something that we've been talking about a lot recently. What do you think about this?
Yeah, people are going to get mad regardless, but I mean, this is a conversation we've been having since the Xbox One was announced.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm torn. I used to always be on the side of yes, especially in the United States, internet sucks, and not everyone has decent internet. But I think I'm moving away from that state of mind. Um, Sorry, I'm trying to think about how I want to structure my argument. I don't think that it's a good practice for these developers to keep caving to this. Oh, this game needs to be able to be playable offline.
Mm-hmm.
And while like it seems like Arcane Austin is entertaining that idea, they are, in this article are also pushing back and they say, we need this for telemetry. Like, you know, people are, and this, I'm not putting this in my words, but people are going to bitch and complain because there's a glitch on a ladder and people keep falling off and dying. Well, like, how are we supposed to know that if we can't pull telemetry off of player data?
Sure.
Um,
I I get that. Yeah. I mean, I that's a legitimate case for like why it's beneficial. Um, but shouldn't there be something that if my internet goes down, I'm still able to play and they just don't get that data? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like it's the fact
don't you
that
have other
like
games to play?
what's that?
I said yes, but don't you have other games to play?
Maybe not. Maybe I don't in this scenario. I
That's
personally? Yes,
a
but
very
like
privileged position.
but I'm sure there are some people who like they get Gran Turismo because they just want to play Gran Turismo and they have internet maintenance or whatever and they suddenly can't play the game because it has to constantly be online. That seems like a disservice to your players. I almost think there needs to be just some sort of like if you're connected to the internet, like know that like the game will be capturing data, and if you're not, you still can play. And then that way it also gives the people the option of if they don't want, if they think the game being online might turn them gay or something, they can just make sure they always have their internet switched off, which they probably do anyway if they believe that's a possibility. So,
Yeah,
um, you know what I mean though? Like it feels like there has to almost be something where like because that's my biggest gripe. And if anything, this sways me a little bit because I actually get it, right? Like it's like okay, I can see the vision. The ladder example, I get it, but also I to devil's advocate that a little bit, and it's not as good as getting like true from the source data. Instead, you'd be dealing with anecdotal data. But how often do we see a game is broken in some capacity or some aspect of a game is broken and it gets shared into oblivion because of the online world we live in, right?
mhm.
And then they know, okay, that's something that we need to go fix. At that point, they can go and test it, see that it's broken themselves, and also then go and fix it without me ever needing to be online. I was playing offline and I noticed that in Saints Row at one point they said fuck, 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 or something like that. And I was like, that seemed like one too many. Let me record this and tell the internet. And then they can go in and fix it.
Yeah, I mean that's like a sentiment thing. That's yeah, it's hard to say. At our we've probably put this on a shirt at some point, but we're not game developers, And in this interview, the game director Harvey Smith said, we're listening and we started to work on this stuff, but like we need internet capability to encrypt or save games, which I think is horseshit. I think he was just throwing that out there for the sake of giving a reason that makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like that makes no sense. And you have to do UI work to support it. I get it. There's probably something. I don't know what it would be, but there's probably these back end things. So it's I don't know what it would take to build your example of um, you know, yeah, you can like you see with most apps you use on your phone. Like when you set it up, you'll get a prompt that says, "Yeah, you can use my diagnostic data to make the app better," whatever. I don't know what goes into that for a game. I'd like to think it's as easy as they've got some sort of boolean in there that says, "Yes, run this code to send my data." No, don't send my data. Don't run this code. Um, but I don't know. I just like I'm getting a little tired of this argument because I feel like people are arguing it for the sake of arguing it. I mean, how many other things in your life do you get mad about because they're connected to the internet and need to be? I just I don't know. It's
Yeah,
something I'm pondering. I just
but
think that a lot of people are throwing this fit and say, no, they're my games. I should be able to play them whenever I want. And That's just not the case. That's not what games are anymore. You
But
purchase the right to play somebody else's property.
isn't that also at the same time kind of an issue because like you spend money on a game and then they decide, oh, we're shutting the servers down or whatever, and like suddenly you don't have access to games. Like,
Mhm.
isn't that like innately bad? Like, should we actually just sit here and go, well, that's just how games are nowadays?
No, I'm not saying I agree with it.
I mean, I hear you. Like, I get it. Like, you're right. Like, no matter what, people are gonna find things to like complain about. But like, uh, I guess all I can see is that I know so many games that like you sign in and it says like connect to servers and you say yes or no. Like Madden alone, right? Like if you do an online franchise, if it's an online franchise, it has to be online. Doesn't matter if you're playing with anybody else or not. But if you don't have internet connection, you cannot access that franchise. But
And
there's
that goes
also an offline franchise option.
But so yeah, and I do the offline franchise, and I have had times where they're like, "Can't access the franchise because we're doing server maintenance," and it's like, why does that matter?
For your offline franchise?
Yeah,
Well, no, that's just
yeah,
silly.
it is, and I think it's just because it's the Madden franchise, and why wouldn't it be a shit show? But I actually almost brought this up a couple of weeks ago because it didn't happen. It happened not that long ago. Um, I think this is all probably just like a transgression for me because I'm frustrated with the world status of internet,
hmm
and I just can't believe that. I don't know how to phrase this. Hopefully, people will get it, but I can't believe it's still seen as a privilege and not a utility.
But I mean, but that is very clearly the case, right? Like, because not everybody just has access to even decent internet.
Right, and it should be up there with water as far as things that people need.
Yeah.
As ludicrous as that sounds to a lot of people,
I mean,
it's important.
2020 alone should have proved that when people needed to be in quarantine, like, and we had students who needed to go to class and stuff like that. If that didn't prove that internet was a necessity and not a luxury, I don't know what else will. And so I think the reason I'm so empathetic to these things and the reason these things piss me off is not because I'm ever actually affected by this. I got out of the small town where I had dirt for internet. Right, like two sticks just pointing to the sky and hopefully I get something. Um I don't typically have these issues happen because I have really stable internet because I live close to a city, right? And I have that luxury. And I'll say high speed internet, the internet package that I specifically have is definitely a luxury. Maybe someday it can be a given, but like I just think about the fact that I used to have this, or I would have to worry about this issue if I still lived in my childhood home,
Right.
right? And like, and to your point, yes, I have plenty of other games that I can go play. But if I want to play Redfall and I bought Redfall, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to play Redfall because all of a sudden my internet's not stable enough. That just seems like such a dumb barrier to have. I think literally like you start the game. Do you want to connect to the server? If you say yes and you're connected to the Redfall servers, boom, they can get the data that they need. If you say no, then you're not and they don't have access to that data. Or maybe it's maybe it's two different save files. Like if you want an offline save file, then it always has to be offline. It's always a single player save file. You can never carry that file and that profile to multiplayer. But if you have an online one, you can have friends come and go and you can keep playing it solo. But if your internet's not there, then you can't play. Even something like that, I would be mildly okay with.
Right.
But it just seems like there has to be something, like there has to be a better solution than just forcing games to always be online because we're not at the point where internet is just a given
And we never
everywhere.
will be if these game companies are caving to making these games completely offline.
I gotcha. I get it now. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
sorry, I didn't
yeah.
get to that point,
No.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
it,
I hear you now.
it, the individual people getting mad about video games are not going to be the ones that push legislation. And I mean, internet's a shit show in the United States. I think we're among the worst in the world, surprisingly. This was a Eurogamer interview, so I don't know, if the feedback they got was worldwide or specifically in Europe or what, but I know we're significantly worse off than a lot of European countries. Um, so, this isn't going to work unless gamers are going to video game companies, and then video game companies, especially ones owned by Microsoft, are getting these complaints. So then Microsoft can go to, Washington, D.C. and say, people need better internet. We're building these products and America can't keep up.
Yeah.
And do you want us to stop innovating or and keep falling behind, or do you want to build around, your citizens? I have a lot of thoughts going into this, So my statement in like, don't you have other games to play? Like that's in the occurrence of like an internet outage or a power outage. Okay, because that's a temporary thing.
Hmm.
But in general, I think there's a wider talking point here that has to do with, I'll stay specific to the United States, but our internet infrastructure that's incredibly frustrating.
No, I definitely, I hear you now. I understand. Like, I understand. Yeah, I understand what you're arguing and saying when you're saying that the video game company shouldn't just like cave. Um, I guess the only thing I'll say to that is, is anybody going to give a flying fuck that a video game wants to be online all the time as a reason to make sure we have better internet? And I'm gonna
No,
I'm
we're not
gonna
going to be able
assume
to
no.
understand. Why do you need internet to play Pong?
Oh, is this because of that new Tetris movie? Anyway, really
The
looking
game
forward
made
to
by
that.
the Russians. You want the Russians to have our data?
Uh this was good. This was a good discussion. And I think that's one that's gotta keep happening. Um and will continue to happen. What about I'll going back to your don't you have other games to play? It's the year 2030. If my internet's out, no is the answer. If we, go this route, right? Like where every game just constantly needs to be connected.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have games. And that would actually be, I mean, cuz I'm an addict, so that would actually be detrimental to my health.
I would really hope that by 2030 we can at least get internet service. And I know this is a stretch. I'm really just, spitballing here.
Mhm.
Like I know people aren't going to have quality enough internet to stream games unless there's some crazy major innovation and you can stream a game with 2 meg down and half a meg up. Um, but just to be able to like do whatever file sending back and forth, it can't be that much data.
Mhm.
You would think that it would be reasonable, and even something where your system saves the data locally, and then in off hours when nobody's using your internet, they can send it. You know, but you know we're all game testers, which I know has been a whole argument
Mhm.
for the past decade, one way or the other. But I feel like you're taking innovation away if this data can't get collected.
Yeah, it's definitely the aspect of the argument that I hadn't been considering. And I'll say I was rather blind or foolish too. Like I now get it. I understand, but it's just like literally before reading that, I was just like, I don't get why a game needs to be online all the time. Oh, so you can, yeah, so you can see like what is going wrong with the game. That makes sense,
Yeah, unfortunately, it's the path we went down.
right?
I'm not saying this is all good, but it's the path we went down. So now we have to.
Reap what has been sown for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it'll be interesting to follow and see what happens. Or I'll bookmark this, and in 2030 we can come back to what you said, and we can all point and laugh at you for being even remotely optimistic towards what our future could be.
Yeah, we won't even have internet by then.
All right, let's talk about our final story for the day. Said to you, I don't like to throw around the word hero a lot, but it seems like the right time. Um, oh my God. Why can't I find his,
Right, Achiever?
what's, what's the guy's name? The completionist. Is that it? He has to have a real name.
Scott.
Scott. Is it actually Scott or?
I have no idea. Gerard?
Yes.
Why didn't you
Gerard.
just scroll up in our conversation?
Oh.
You literally sent this to me.
Rip. Gerard the completionist is a hero. All right. Something that we've covered in the past, haven't covered recently, probably should have provided more light to it. In case you didn't know, the Wii U and the 3DS eShop is shutting down March 27th.
Sad.
So you have, as of this recording coming out, 4 days to buy whatever it is that you want. Um, and Gerard, the completionist, went ahead and bought every single game on the Wii U and the 3DS eShop before it got shut down.
Like even Steel Diver, like the games that sucked.
Yeah, yeah.
Every single
Um,
game.
it took apparently it took 328 days to do this. Um, and yeah, it included like everything, like virtual
My Little
console.
Pony and
What was that? Sorry.
I said My Little Pony and
Yeah. Um, and uh, yeah, it's sick. So it took um a Wii U with 3 external hard drives and a 3DS with 4 micro SD cards, and all of this is going to be donated to the Video Game History Foundation to preserve the digital offerings um, that will not be available to anyone. Um, and so this is cool for like, I don't know, a trillion different reasons probably. But the main one has got to be preservation from that point of view. Uh, you know, I'm we've talked about this before. Like we've talked about preservation a ton, a ton of different times throughout the history of this podcast. Um, and I've I've been working on my own collection of video games in a somewhat preservation, type of way, because I feel like if I don't get these games, that there's eventually going to be a time where I'll never have access or the way to get them in this capacity, basically, right? Um, so from a preservation standpoint, this is really cool. There's been a ton of work that goes on all the time with finding ways to preserve the code and stuff like that of games. It's what leads to a lot of piracy in the end. And it I feel like you can't talk about preservation without talking about piracy, which is also something that we've talked about before. I think where we both landed on it was like, you shouldn't pirate things, right? Like if you have the ability, if you have the means to uh, purchase uh, these games or whatever and the software, then like I guess morally it's the right thing to do. However, there's a ton of different ways you can go about it, and everybody should have the right to still be able to experience things and so on and so forth. And when you have a situation like this where Nintendo is literally making it impossible for you to get these games without buying a physical copy of it secondhand for $400, then the only logical way to experience the game at that point becomes piracy. So it's a really shitty move on Nintendo to do this, but a really awesome move by Gerard to uh, do this work. And again, we have to kind of, along with this, salute the Video Game History Foundation for all the work that they do to try and preserve video games.
My first reaction to this, other than the fact that it is just amazing, and the guy is a hero and should forever be known as such, is I it cost way less than I expected it to.
Yeah, I mean, it's like almost $10 per item that he bought, I think, is how it nets out.
Which, like, okay,
But it also still
can't,
nets out to $22,000.
yeah, yeah, like it's still a significant amount of money, but like, I don't know, you could take a loan out for that easily enough.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Um, but no, seriously, it's an amazing feat. But the story also gave me anxiety because I'm like, oh shit, do I have any games I still need to buy? And should I just spend $22,000 to make sure I have all the games just in case?
Right.
Like I'm literally we started this conversation and I walked over and grabbed my 3DS to open the store. So I don't know. But it's cool that he donated it. I actually didn't read that far into the story, so I didn't realize that. I just saw that he did it. I said, fucking legend, and I moved on with my day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, God's work, right? Like, that's the
Now,
only
how
way to
mad will he
describe it.
be when they're like, look at all these games coming to Nintendo Switch Virtual Console?
Right. And if they do that, great.
Yeah.
Awesome. They
I
should.
mean, yeah, and it shouldn't discount what he did because those are now original copies on the original system, which have way more value than an emulated version would have.
Right.
But it's
It,
just it's. I hope this is a potent point to Nintendo, and I'm sure they'll never read the story. That they're like, this is what people are doing to make sure they can play these games.
mhm.
It's not like you're going to be able to go into a game store in 30 years and just see like stacks on stacks on stacks of these games like you can with some consoles.
Right. I mean, again, I've been getting into trying to like reacquire in some instances games that I had that I foolishly like gave away, and it's ridiculous how much some games cost because they're considered rare or whatever, right? Like there's just not easy access to these things um anymore. I mean, that's technically like physical, like you don't need to buy physical, but when instances of online avenues to buy stuff go away, then that's the only option you're left with. With
Mhm.
old consoles, it doesn't matter, right? Like that's always how it was. So like that's just suck it up, Buttercup. Like they stopped making the cartridges or whatever, and it's like you just need to find them, right? Like at that point.
But they also made, you know, I would say probably on a per capita basis, more of those physical games
Sure.
than they did for the newer consoles because they had multiple avenues to distribute.
Right. Right. I mean,
Go ahead.
no, sorry. I was just gonna say like we're not quite there yet. It was like talked about and then it was like it was pulled back. The PS3 and the Vita, those stores are still up, but it's only a matter of time until they're gonna pull them.
I
Um,
mean, I think here's my philosophy on it. They're essentially making it vaporware. So who owns the rights? If they're getting rid of the avenues to acquire this software, they're not making any more money off of it anyway.
mhm.
So there should be some sort of, I don't know if you have to get like ISO involved with this or whatever, but there should be some standard to say, okay, you're getting rid of, they'd have to define what is like reasonably accessible. If
Mhm.
it's um like we'll say Metroid games, because that's a big example. Even with modern games, like you're getting rid of the reasonably accessible way to access these games, and you're not going to be making money on it moving forward. It's now public domain,
Right.
and you get and like and I'm not expecting like then the onus falls on Nintendo to host these servers so people can download these games. Like I get that. Nintendo doesn't want to run these servers anymore. It's a business. I get it. But I imagine there would be a not-for-profit that would be more than happy to host these games.
Mhm.
And then, people can go out, and since they're digital games anyway, download them in the original format. And, the game console manufacturers would have to allow, um, whatever licensing they need to do on the final update for the system or whatever for
Mhm.
these to run as native games. I think there's a solution here. I can't believe that we're not getting there, and it doesn't really seem like a money thing.
Right.
Because even in secondhand games, like Nintendo's not going to see a dime of the $200 Metroid Prime cartridge I bought.
Mhm. Right.
So it's just so weird.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. It's dare I say dumb.
Yeah.
We have these avenues to keep the games alive, right? Like because we don't need them to be physical, and we just say we don't care, and that's it. And we create scarcity
Right.
for really no reason. Um and you're 100% right. The money I spend at a secondhand store, Nintendo doesn't see any of that, so why do they care if it's just accessible to everybody?
Right. And I'm more than happy to like, we get again, it would have to be standardized, but some not nonprofit or not for profit that I guess not for profit, to host this stuff. And
Mhm.
I'll pay, full price for whatever the game was, like within reason, full price for whatever the game was at launch, just to know that I have access to it.
Mhm.
And you make that a donation and you get a voucher for the game. Um, yeah, it's just crazy. And I guess the argument against it is, well, okay, remakes and remasters have become such a thing that it kind of does work against them if you can go get this game somewhere else. And I guess my argument to the argument is, we saw it with Metroid Prime.
Yeah, I was gonna say a remaster or remake done right, like
People are still going to buy it.
yeah, it should be better than the original. The two should just be able to stand on their own, right? As their own things. Like these are two completely different experiences. If you play a remaster and then go back and play the original and go, I can't tell, like this feels exactly the same, then like that remaster, in my opinion, was probably done poorly.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like the
And that was,
two experiences should stand on their own.
yeah. Yeah, should be a new game. And then that allows, like, well, I should say it prohibits game companies from just taking the easy route and porting a game over
Hmm.
just to make a quick buck. Like, now you have to put work into it.
Right. Yeah, you're 100% right. It feels like something that we should be able to avoid, and yet here we are actively doing it and forcing it, and it just sucks. So,
And like knowing, I think this is what's really pissing me off about this, and knowing that to buy the whole catalog and I say this objectively, it's only $22,000.
Right.
Do you know what that $22,000 means to Nintendo?
Fuck all.
Absolutely fuck all. Like, that's a drop in the bucket. That one guy, that one person who did that, and who will be the only person, that is the ceiling. That is the most money they will get out of one person.
Right. Right. That is actually insane.
Yeah.
Wow, we really don't matter, huh?
Yeah, like, honestly, I hate to be that pessimistic, but that is now the point, is $22,000.
This just kind of put into perspective like the vote with your wallet or like boycott with your wallet like stance, because I'm like, holy shit, like I mean, I anytime a movement like that happens, it's very easy to get caught up in the like, well, I'm just one person. But like it does truly show you how little you are and how much volume you actually need to be something on Nintendo or whoever's radar.
Right.
Because one man bought everything and didn't, I mean, that's nuts. God damn. Well, on that note, Gerard, we salute. Thank you for doing what no one else was brave enough to do. What so many of us only wish we could do. Um, I guess that's a free shout out, right? Go check out Gerard. Go check out his. Um, I think he made like a full video about this, so you can find him on. I want to make sure I get his YouTube right. Yeah, on YouTube. Yeah, if you search the completionist, I'm sure he comes up. But his @ is at that one video gamer, and this video was from like 4 days ago, so you can see his whole adventure in doing this. So go check it out, and maybe one day you can aspire to do something similar. Lord knows I'm going to try.
Mhm.
All right. Well, that does it. Unless you have anything else.
No, I'm gonna go out and look and see what games I need to download before it closes.
All right.
I'm also realizing that I can't use my credit card anymore, so I have to buy myself a gift card.
That's correct.
Boy, I can see why this took a year.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. Let us know your thoughts on online servers and video game preservation. And yeah. Oh, something that I kind of meant to say at the top, but next week, I will come prepared with at least initial thoughts of Chia. So we can have some new game content on this podcast. I plan on starting that tonight, and we'll see what else. Hopefully some other feel good stories come up. But yeah, as always, thanks for listening. No Last of Us to talk about this week, sadly. Leave us a rating or a review wherever you listen, and guess to kind of take the easy way out, just be sure to share this podcast with anybody, but most importantly, if you can't find anybody, just share it with a mom. And we'll talk to you next week.